Hari Om Swamiji. How are you? Welcome. Thank you. Welcome to Saptarishi channel. We've been here a little bit ago doing a recording on guilt and repentance.
Right.
And now to follow on that, we can discuss a little bit of Prayashchitta, where you had stopped last time on Prayashchitta.
Right.
So from what I know, Prayashchitta is split into two words, Praya, which implies destruction, and Chitta means joining together. So Prayashchitta, when you put together, it is joining of what was destroyed. And I think there's another way to look at Prayashchitta, which could be divided into pra, ayam, and chittaha, which means observations after knowing certain things have happened. And, we all make mistakes in life. We commit sins, and I guess that's what we are here for. And there is a mode of repentance, sorrow, regrets. And then we try to do atonement with, pujas, vratas, pilgrimages. And there are two types of prayashchitta. One you can do openly, which is praka, and one you do secretly or in a hidden way, which is rahasya. So, Swamiji, can you please expound a little bit on how a person can deal with his mistakes when he understands and realizes he made them?
Okay. So before we get into the details, what I'll do is I'll talk about what's the significance of having Prayashchitta. Let's go back to the Vedas, because whatever we do, we use the Vedas as our guide, as a form of authenticating what we do and why it is there. Now, you might have heard in the past, I might have mentioned that the Vedas are like a very kind mother, and it gives this knowledge to its children so that we can make use of it.
Sure.
Okay. And of course, Jyotisha is one of the Vedangas, and because it is one of the Veda Angas, it also tells us about how our karmas manifest in this particular lifetime. It reveals our prarabdha in this lifetime. Okay. And as we see this, because basically, even though it reveals our prarabdha, it gives us an option of doing things or rectifying it or modifying it. Just because it reveals our prarabdha doesn't mean that our life is set in stone, that we have no options. Although many of us who do Jyotish or people in India, we tend to look at our lives fixed in a particular way. No. Yeah. So what happens here is that Jyotish reveals our prarabdha, but of course we still have free will. And and within that prarabdha, there is some level of free will. Okay. Now, the thing is, because all we know is what's here presently. What we know in this lifetime is what we experience, what we understand, what we have learned. All of these things kind of keep us confined and show us that we are stuck in this reality. The Vedas come out and say, hey, no, that's not the case. That you are a jiva that travels from one body to another. And every lifetime that you have, actually you commit papa and punya. You do good things and you do not so good things. Okay? But the thing is, whatever we have done, whatever negative acts we have done, gets recorded in our Akashic records. Okay? That gets registered. So our behavior, the way we speak, the way we act physically, the way we think, all of this really takes us to a place where our actions get recorded and those actions come back to us. So we have done good actions, we get punya. We have done negative actions, we get papa. It's not sin. Sin doesn't exist. That was a made-up word in for the Vatican to actually control people. In our tradition, or if you look at the universal tradition, there's no such thing as sin. But because we have done wrong things out of ignorance, if we knew better, we would not do it.
That's true.
But out of ignorance, we do things we don't realize have a negative impact. Those negative experiences, the harm that we might have created to someone else, to an animal, to plant life, to the earth, all of that comes back. It comes back not to punish us. It comes back to give us some idea, to give us an understanding that what we have done is wrong. And because we have done something wrong, we need to learn from it. So this whole idea of Papa Punya is really dealing with our maturity. You see, if we don't make mistakes, we will never learn. But we need to make mistakes. And we always do make mistakes. So making mistake is not a crime. We regret and we have guilt when we make mistakes, but that's not a problem. The problem is we need to learn. Now, some mistakes that we have committed comes back in this lifetime. Some mistakes gets carried over, because when we die, we take three things with us. We take the wisdom we have gained, all the punya we have accumulated, and all the papa we have accumulated. Okay. So when we are born, we choose to pay off some of that papa. Okay. And when we get incarnated into this body, the Jyotisham, when we look at the Kundali, we see what type of papa you decided to pay off and what type of luxuries you chose to experience.
Now, how do you see that astrologically, Swamiji?
You look at all the malefic planets in malefic houses. That's your negative experiences.
That's true.
When you look at the positive, so all your positive experiences are based on benefic planets, and even functional benefic, in fact. If we look at the malefic planets, when we look at from a Jyotish point of view, when we look at Kundali, we say, oh, this prarabdha of this person is that the malefics are very strong, or the malefics are in very important houses, like, seventh house, which has to do with relationships. So, or you can have, in health, sixth house, that means health problems. So if you look at malefic planets in malefic houses, of course, that's where we create problems, right? Or on top of it, it gets activated during certain times, or during sadhisati, or depending on the yogas that are involved there. So there are many, many ways. But the point is that a person's life can be determined by the maleficness of the planets and in those houses.
So, for example, say you have very strong malefics, and that shows a lot of strong drudha karma. The karma is very drudha.
Exactly.
So then, does that mean prayashchit is going to help in any way, or?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. It helps diffuse it. It will not help eliminate it completely. Now, here's the way to look at it. The main purpose of those drut karma that we have, the negative experiences, the difficult experiences that we have, is that we chose to have that experience here. Let's say a person, and we talked about this in previous videos, a person decides to be born in poverty. Okay? Very difficult life. They chose that because they're paying off their debt. They're paying off their papa. But you see, if we look at it that way, if we say it that way, that's judgmental, which is not correct. Okay. The person has chosen to choose that because they wanted to learn certain lessons. For instance, I'm born without legs. Because I don't have legs, my experiences in life are based on people helping me. Also, that's one thing. So I get taken care of if I'm very lucky. But by not having legs, I have to learn how to use my hands. I have to learn other skills in order to survive. Okay. So I chose to not have legs in this lifetime because I needed to find a way to enhance my skills and my experiences and my wisdom because of that challenge. So every challenge we have in life, it's there to teach us. Okay. It's also there to teach us that the things that we didn't know, now we begin to know. So I did something bad I did some harmful things in a past life. Now I realize when that harmful thing is done to me that, hey, this wasn't right because I suffered so much. And the reason why I suffered so much is because somebody did something to me. So I know that if I'm going to do this thing next time to somebody else, I will not do it because I do not want to put that person into suffering again. Many times we do things because we don't realize that people are suffering. For instance, if I steal. When I steal, and I think I'm taking advantage right now from, let's say if I steal from you, and I say, okay, I'm taking advantage, this is going to be something that I've gained right now. And it could be, I steal from you legally, I steal from you illegally, or through some sneaky way, I take advantage of you. Then what happens is, if I knew that by stealing or doing the thing by stealing money from you or not being fair and taking advantage of you, then what would happen is if I knew that I would have to pay it back, would I do it? Most of the time I would not do it if I knew that I'm going to pay a price for this.
That's true.
Okay. So Prayashchit karma is really not there as a punishment. Now, most people, when they come for Jyotish consultations, everybody's afraid of three things in India, particularly: Sati, Kuja dosha, and Mangal. Yeah, everybody dreads this thing, and Kalasarpa yoga. So everybody's afraid of these things, but people don't realize that these are the things that we need in our lives to learn and to grow. I mean, Saturn can be a malefic planet, but it is a kingmaker at the same time.
Greatest teacher, yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't have Kuja dosha as a woman, then you cannot be head of a department or be a head of a company or be someone who can lead. Okay. So these things are taken out of context. But the point is that when we see malefic experiences in a chart, there are remedies, and this is one of the greatest beauty of the Vedic tradition and in Jyotish. In fact, I used to do Greek astrology before, and even Western astrology I dabbled in. I didn't find a way that when you look at someone's prarabdha, that you can actually do something to mitigate it, to soften the blow. Because we're humans, we make mistakes, and we don't realize why we made mistakes. We need to learn to know that we cannot do these things because we're going to pay a price for it. Okay, so in a kundali, you see negative experiences. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It just simply means that those are the experiences the person chose to have in this particular lifetime. Now, because suffering is such a difficult thing for everybody, with no exception. Suffering, there's so many levels of suffering. Everybody suffers. I know very wealthy people who suffer a great deal. I know they might have wealth, but they have no health.
That's true.
They might have fame, but they have no love. They might have a huge house, but it's empty. It's not a home. So all of these experiences you find, they're incredibly difficult. We don't see that because from our perspective, we think somebody who has a big home, somebody who is married, and someone who has kids, that they have a good life. Apparently, when you really get to see, you find that people really suffer because they're here to learn and gain wisdom. Now, having said all that, Prayashchit karma is so necessary, which was one of the big reasons I moved from Greek astrology to Indian astrology, because there's a way to remedy a difficult situation. The situation is there because of our papa, okay, that's there. Because of our past karmas, it's presented there. The question then becomes, how do we get along in that? Now, Just like when you are sick, when you have a massive headache, you take aspirin. Okay, aspirin doesn't really cure your disease. It gives you some relief.
Just alleviates the pain. That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah. So exactly, Prayashchit karma is like that. Is that they're devices, they're mechanisms. And why do these mechanisms work? Because Hinduism is about dealing with what is a drishta, meaning that it is dealing with the energies that we cannot see or access through our five senses. For instance, the electricity, you cannot touch it, you cannot see it. Of course, if you touch it, you get a jolt. But how do you know electricity exists? Through an appliance. If an appliance works, then you can say either the appliance is not right or there is no electricity if it works. Okay. So the same way, when we are looking at total energy of the universe, the universal energy, how do we manage it? How do we access that? The way you access that is through Jyotish. It is also through the Karma Kanda site, all the rituals that we do. The reason we do those rituals is to actually navigate, find the energies to align with us so we can travel in a more gentle way, more comfortable way. So when we're experiencing difficulty, let's say in your journey, you're having a difficult journey. What do? You seek help.
Definitely.
Yeah. So because the difficulty of that journey is because of your prarabdha. So in life, when we have difficult life, when we have problems in our lives, we need to access and utilize this mechanism that is given to us through our rishis to help ease that difficulty. By getting that relief, temporary relief, we can manage it. And that is actually the point of Prayashchit karma. Prayashchit has got two values. Okay, the first one is to give us relief. But the second one, which is more fundamental, is to establish that our actions, it's a teaching. You see, we learn that I am suffering so much because of my past actions. Okay, what has my past actions got to do with my present life? It establishes a connection between my present life and my past actions. And because I have past actions, that means my present life, my present actions, I need to monitor them. I need to be vigilant. I need to be aware of my actions in presently, because if I'm not aware, then I'll suffer next time. One suffering is enough. I'm not going to suffer anymore. So this is the more fundamental purpose of Prayashchit karma, is to actually establish the connectionness, the connection between present life and next life. You see, we can say that you suffered so much. We can say this and this. We can look at a chart, a kundali, and say that all these things are happening. But then, how do we experience it? You see, we don't learn unless it's through difficulty, because we're not wise. It's just the nature of a human. I mean, you have had children, but as a young boy, my mother would tell me, don't play with fire. I wouldn't think, because I've never been burned before. She said, you'll get burned. That gave me an excitement, because I said, burn. Oh, what will happen if it burns? So I put my finger there and I got burnt, and I realized the pain. Then next time I know, when she says, don't play with fire, I won't play with fire. So this is a human nature, is that we don't learn unless there's a difficult experience.
Swamiji, one question. So you said Prayashchita teaches us two things. One, to alleviate the symptoms, the pain, the difficulty, the suffering. And the second point you said is there's a connection between your past life and present experiences, which is very well put. Now, my question to you would be, if you alleviate the pain, the suffering, does that mean you're going to postpone that for future, or is it gone completely?
No, it depends on the wisdom, the viveka we have. Okay, it depends on the maturity we have. So it can give you temporary relief, like aspirin,
mm-hmm.
but that doesn't stop the headache from not coming again.
So you will go through the experiences.
you will go through the experience. Now, what most people, you see, this is very interesting because, in fact, we can really talk about this topic for a long time, because most people, when they see Jyotish, is what they want is their problem to go away.
That's true.
You know, what they're not interested in is learning what they have to learn. They just, they'll give you lots of money. They'll give you anything. They can do as many pujas as possible, as long as the problem goes away. They're not interested in learning. So what happens is, yes, some of that will have some effect in the sense that I've suffered so much, I do not want this to happen to anyone else. In that case, there's a learning. But if the Prayashchit karma is done easily, I have a problem, I go see a Jyotishi, I do a puja, I do a ritual, and it's gone. I haven't learned anything. I've learned how to escape it. In that case, the problem will definitely come, and it will come worse.
I see. So the attitude towards the problem.
Towards the problem. So what happens is, many times when it's like a child, really. A child did something wrong, you punish that child, and it didn't feel any pain, it will do it again. Until it experiences pain, then it will stop to do it. So when we talk about Prayashchit karmas, you find that there are many, many levels, there are many, many ways to do it. All of that varies. The problem is, what is the maturity level of that person coming? Most of the time, when they see a Jyotishi, it's because they're having a very, very difficult time.
Definitely.
Okay. And in that case, a Jyotishi might give a recommendation. And then once they give the recommendation, maybe the problem will go away. Or maybe even now the Jyotishi has a problem also. You see, one of the things that our teacher did not teach us much about Prayashchit karma, because it's a very complex topic. Now, there is this very good video that actually Saptarishis put out, I think Sunil and Dipansu put out recently. I think it was Most Stunning Predictions by a Brigu astrologer. I think they put it out on November 3rd.
Yeah.
That is such an excellent video.
It was.
Because it revealed the responsibility of a Jyotishi.
Eye-opening, excellent video.
Yeah. So this person, actually, if you look at that story, to us, that is a true story. And that's how it works. So not only that we are helping other people, we prescribe these remedies, but the question is, how well do we know to predict this, provide this Prayashchit karmas? How well do we know to prescribe the right remedy? It's like going to the doctor, and if the doctor is not well trained, and then they just say whatever, it can create more damage.
Exactly.
So for instance, you go see for any disease. There's one doctor we had when I was growing up. For any disease you went to see him, he would give you antibiotics.
Or a multivitamin.
Yeah, and he would prescribe tetracycline to everybody, no matter whatever the disease was. We used to call him the tetracycline doctor. And what happens is, tetracycline can be very damaging.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, in this particular case, when we do Jyotish and we give out advice, we have to be extremely careful, because that is karma. And if we give wrong advice, we pay for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And many times we don't realize it. I mean, there's so many Jyotishas coming up, and they're charging so much money for that. And they don't realize the damage they're causing. The same thing with Vastu consultants. People are going to people's homes and say, tear this building down. You reorganize your life. You reorganize the structure. You spend so much money. Guess what? At some point in the next life, you will have to go through the same thing.
Yeah,
okay?
Karma doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So when we prescribe Prayashchit karma, we really have to be thoroughly clear what we do and how we prescribe it. Now, there are some prescriptions that we can give that are very gentle and they're harmless. Like, if you have a shani that is a problem that's causing problems for you, we say something very gentle here, especially in the West. Oh, go and feed crows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on Saturdays or on Mondays. You do some, you do an abhishekam on Mondays for shani, for Shiva. Yeah, Shiva and shani are the same thing.
They are. Mm-hmm.
Okay, they are the same energy. Crows, Shiva, shani, they're all in the same energy. So then, if you want guru, if you want something for guru to bless you, then you feed pigeons on Thursdays. You know, something yellow like yellow beans, mung. This chana,
Chana dal.
and so on. But these are mild. These don't cause any harm, because whatever you do, whatever the person does, that person will get punya no matter what. Whether Shani was right or wrong, whether the prescription, the very fact that the person does that. Like if a Jyotish told me to go and give some feed crows or feed pigeons, I get punya no matter what. Okay, but then there are these other prashchit karmas or remedial karmas where you make the person go and pay a lot of money, or maybe the person have to go and do a yatra to walk from Kanyakumari to all the way to Mount Kailash, which has happened. I know some people doing that. You know, the papa that person gets from that act is you as the astrologer. So making these prescriptions are incredibly vital, that you need to know how to help that. But going back to your question, is that it is not completely removed unless the person has learned the lesson. Okay, so yes, we need temporary relief. We get that temporary relief so that we can learn. Sometimes when you have a horrible headache, you cannot heal yourself. So you need the temporary relief. Even to find the right Jyotishi who can prescribe the right prescription, okay, that requires blessing. That requires punya. Otherwise, you go to the wrong Jyotishi and you get the wrong prescription. So the avoidance or trying to escape the problem is always a problem, because you'll never get out of it. Okay, so the point of prashchit karma is to actually help us mitigate some of the experiences we've had. If it is very serious, it will help, but it will help us learn. You see, and if we look at the karma kanda side of it, all of that is prashchit karma. If you look at the Hindu culture, especially in villages till today, is prashchit karma. Like I might have talked before, if you go to a village in India, a traditional village, a mother will wake up and take a shower, because what she does is she cleanses the energy in her body. And then she goes and does a puja. Soon after puja, she goes out and she does rangoli. That rangoli is prashchit karma, which everyone does every day. This is all what we talk about, nitya karmas, means karmas that we do all the time. So when we say Hinduism is actually is not a religion, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle designed on mitigating papa and increasing our punya. The whole culture is designed that way. So the very fact that a mother goes, takes a shower, does a puja, she gets blessed by the devata, by the Ishta devata, Kula devata, whatever. Then you go out and before you even do anything, as part of the puja, you go and feed these five creatures outside, and you feed them through rangoli.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this prashchit karma is done. Now with that, you go back and you start cooking. And while you're cooking, until today in certain villages, kids are not supposed to even touch the mother, because you don't want other energies to come and mix up in the food. So when the mother is cooking, she's putting her devata, blessed energy, into the food, which everybody then eats. The whole family gets to eat. So after she's done cooking, then she'll come out and touch everybody and touch with the kids, and then everything's fine. But you see, if you look at this whole culture, which is based on this prashchit karmas, improving our punya, minimizing our papa, this is the main purpose of prashchit karma. Then you see the whole culture is based on this purification processes, so that the food gets blessed and the whole family gets blessed. Why do Indians actually take care of swamis? Simply because of punya. Why do you give dakshina? Same thing, because of punya. These are all prashchit karmas. So, there are prescriptions, like you'll find in Jyotishi, that on this particular day, go give blankets to sadhus. Or go and do a bandara, feed 100 or 200 sadhus, all of these are to mitigate some of our problems. It brings the problems up, and it teaches us how to heal them. And in fact, For the most part, even Western medicine cannot address this. So we have problems, we have health problems, and we find that Western medicine cannot help. So then we come into these rituals. By the way, Prayashchit karma is Jyotisha, through Jyotish, is a remedy in Ayurveda. It is a remedy in the sense that when we want to heal long-term illnesses or chronic illnesses, then we also do Prayashchit karmas to help us heal. So it's it's such an amazing device to have Prayashchit karma to help human beings. It is a gift to human beings to release us from the pain. But it doesn't mean that it takes away the problem. It's there to help us release, to recognize that there is pain and suffering, and that we grow from it. And what I've said so many times, the moment we actually know the lesson that we need to learn, the problem disappears. You don't even need Prayashchit karma. If we changed our attitude and say, okay, what am I here to learn from this problem? As soon as you recognize the problem, it goes away. Then Prayashchit karma is useless.
Yeah.
You don't need the Prayashchit karma as soon as you do that. But the problem is we don't go there. We want to avoid learning. And so we go see a Jyotishi, we'll spend so much money, we'll do a lot of things, but we don't want to learn.
So the universal Prayashchitta is feeding, which is one of the best Prayashchittas, which what I've read and heard of.
Right.
And also Namajapa, right? Namajapa of the Lord.
Yeah. One of the best, which I didn't realize, but it was when I was studying the Upanishads, the best Prayashchit, more than all the rituals under the sun, the best Prayashchit is to actually study Vedanta. Believe it or not.
I do believe
it. When you are listening, whether you understand it or not, when you are listening to an Upanishad being unfolded, that is the greatest Prayashchit karma that tops everything else. Okay, let's say you have to pay 100,000 people to do a ritual for 10 days. You know how expensive that can be? Okay, listening to Upanishadic unfoldment from a real teacher, traditionally trained teacher, that's the greatest upaya, which fascinated me before, because when I was in India traveling, I would see all these old ladies go and listen to some Swami talk, but they were not listening. They were there knitting and they were talking. And I said, why are these people coming here? Why don't they go home? But then I realized that because of this.
The words coming to the ears.
So the very fact that you hear it, whether you understand it or not, the very fact that you're in presence of a teacher, unfolding this teaching, unfolding the Upanishadic teaching, then that is the best Prayashchit karma ever.
Well, all these teachings, when they're unfolded, it gives you prasada buddhi. It gives you acceptance. It gives you acceptance, with glad acceptance, I guess, with a smile, or total acceptance. And then you can probably handle the difficult situations when they come to you.
Right. And so it brings blessing, because with the very fact that you sit there and you're doing this Prayashchit, you get the right person showing up at the right time. This is punya, to help you with a difficulty or to give you some advice at the right time. This is what we talk about Guru Kripa or Ishvara Kripa, that you get these blessings at the right time to unfold. So the best Prayashchit karma that there ever is listening to an Upanishad with the right teacher, with a Sadguru. And then all the others come in. So for instance, if you have Stri dosha, okay, with Stri dosha, you can see that in a chart because Venus is afflicted. Both Venus and Moon sometimes can be afflicted. Mm-hmm. So if Venus is afflicted, but mostly Venus, then you see that there's Stri dosha. Okay, so what do you do with that? If you have Stri dosha, that means you'll always have problems with women. Okay. So even in relationships with daughters, with mothers, everybody. So for that, there is a 2-week ritual. For that, you have to pay some priest and pundits who can do that, and they will be able to resolve that. Now, some doshas like that, or guru dosha also is like that. Yeah. So guru dosha, when you see that, you have to also do similar rituals. Now, these purohits, or the priest, they know exactly what to do and how to do it. But, of course, you see. Now, does it mean that the problems go away? Yes, they do go away once the ritual is done, and it has to be done right, because part of that is also giving dakshina. So there's a whole ritual, there's different phases of it. But assuming that the ritual went well, then you will see that that dosha goes away, that those problems go away. Yeah. And I've seen this to work. Yeah. The same thing when we do the Navagraha Puja. Okay. That also really helps. So, but the main thing is that we as Jyotishis have to learn how to prescribe. Otherwise, we experience what that Brigu astrologer experienced in that video that came out on November 3rd. So what happens is many of us also want to be Jyotishis to make money out of it. But what we don't realize is, supposing we made a mistake, supposing we gave the wrong advice, we get papa for that.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. So this is such a sacred field that people don't realize how powerful it is and how damaging it is for us. So just because I learned a few classes of astrology, then I want to go out and teach astrology, or nowadays people even open a YouTube channel to talk about Jyotish just because they could hear it well and then they repackage it. What people are doing here is so deadly for themselves.
Right.
They're giving wrong advice, they're suffering. So what happens is there's no solution now until later on they see that they will suffer from that, and then they have to come back and they will be getting wrong advice for a very long time. For every person they gave wrong advice, they'll get wrong advice. How is that good? That's why in this tradition, it's so important to study with the right teacher. And the right teacher, once the teacher thinks that you have the qualification, then the teacher can say, okay, now you can do this. But without that, it becomes incredibly hard, incredibly hard. Because of our ignorance, what we're doing in Jyotishi, as Jyotishas is incredibly dangerous. It's like we're playing with uranium or plutonium energy, and then we're going out and dishing out advice without really knowing how to do it. I mean, to a certain level, it's okay to understand it. I mean, some people actually now, this is a little thing that I see going on, is that people watch these Saptarishis videos, and then suddenly they think they're astrologers. And because of that, they can prescribe all these remedies, and even including Lal Kitab remedies. The papa that we would get by prescribing this is incredibly harmful, as shown in that video that came out on November 3rd. So, for that, what kind of prashchit karmas? You have to atone a great deal to be able to recover from that.
It's true.
Yeah. Prashchit karma is a really, really good system to deal with our past karmas, to deal with our papa. And this is one of the big reasons that brought me into Jyotish from Greek astrology and Western astrology, is that there's a way to heal it. But the most important thing as Jyotish is we need to learn how to prescribe it.
Correct.
What is the right way, right method to do it? At the same time, for us not to accumulate papa as we are doing this.
Very nicely put, Swamiji. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yes, and very beautifully put. Hope it'll help the audience to follow your advice. And again, it's, as you said, the grace of the God, grace of the gurus to find the right guru.
Yeah.
And we wish everybody well. Hari Om.
Om. Blessings to you all. Om.
Thank you.